Alright, hello everybody. My tripod broke, so I'm in my living room instead of my office. Today I've just got a simple, short reading for you. I thought it would be fun. I was looking through some old pulps, and I was looking at a copy of Dynamic Science Stories from February of 1939. And this is a short story by Hubert Mavity. Pretty short. It's called The Message from the Void. And I don't know. It's a story that I've read before, it feels like. I've read probably 3 or 4 different stories that are just like this one. All usually short stories, all usually with the same kind of lesson. And I don't know, I thought it was a fun example. And since it was from February of 1939, I'm wondering if anyone has knowledge of another short story that is even older than this one. So I thought this would be a fun thing to both read and kind of just mention. So yeah, here we go. The Message from the Void by Hubert Mavity. The cold globe pulsed unevenly. In one corner of the great vaulted chamber, a fretful generator vibrated through an ever-rising tonic sequence to still itself in the silence of ultrasound. A dim filament flared into a point of sparkling light, and Dor-Yan nodded briefly to his assistant. Silently, the young mechanic pressed a button on the towering metal banks before him. Gears meshed. Wires, strung high above, hummed with an erratic vibration. Ozone crackled in the thin air, and a silent wave of power winged its way, with the swiftness of light, toward the pale green planet, glowing in the darkness of the void. "Missing half your life, that's all there is to it," declared the cheerful young man. "Nothing like a little home of your own, with a plot of ground. Bring your friend out to dinner," says my wife. "We'll show him what real home life is." "Great girl, my wife. You'll like her. You say you've never been out to this section before?" "Never," answered the other. With distaste, he noted the tidy monotony of the small suburban community. Uniform stucco cottages, 1,000 homes with 1,000 similar tiny grass plots, 1,000 cheery lights burning in 1,000 windows for 1,000 husbands to come home to. His nostrils twitched with the crisping odor of 1,000 chops frying on 1,000 little genius gas ranges. "Yes, sir, nothing like it," boasted his host again. "Marry and settle down is what I always say. You'll see for yourself in a minute. My house is just around the corner and past the gas station," finished the visitor. "What? What's that?" The proud young husband stared at his guest amazedly. "Hey, I thought you'd never been here before." "Why, I haven't," stammered the visitor weakly. "I don't know what made me say that. I've never been to Highland Corners before. But all of a sudden, somehow I felt as though I'd seen this section a long, long time ago." In the telescope chamber of the Flagstaff Observatory, Sir Humphrey Wimpole, R.A., shook his head as he argued with his American friend and colleague. "No, Wallace," he said didactically, "I'm afraid we must discard your fanciful theory of life on other planets. If you'll forgive my saying so, it smacks too much of the romantic. Like those incredible yarns one reads in the science fiction magazines. Why, the atmospheric conditions, the lack of warmth and light, the shortage of oxygen." "But, Sir Humphrey," insisted Professor Wallace, "you must remember this. All life need not be exactly in the same form as ours. Different bodies, adapted to strange environments, a different form of reasoning, perhaps." "Tut tut," shrugged the British scientist impatiently. "All reasoning is based on the same fundamentals. You know as well as I do that the Milan Observatory has been attempting to communicate with other planets for more than 30 years. 24 hours a day they broadcast a series of signals based on pure mathematics, the science which all logical creatures must recognize, the law of the squares, 2 followed by a 4, 3 followed by a 9, then a 4, with a pause. Surely, if there were intelligent creatures, say on Mars, they would understand the fundamental principle of this squaring factor and send us a logical solution." He stopped abruptly and passed a bewildered hand over his broad face. The American leaped up. "Sir Humphrey, what's wrong? Shall I get water?" "No, nothing, thanks," faltered the visiting astronomer. "It's nothing at all, just a peculiar sensation such as we all experience occasionally. For an instant I felt that I had been through this same scene once, a long time ago. And this is my first visit to America. Odd, isn't it?" The magazine editor's look of amusement faded, gave way to a disturbed frown. He stared angrily at the manuscript in his hand and pressed the buzzer on his desk. "Miss Jenkins," he ordered. "Send Murphy in here." Murphy entered, the broad grin on his face fading as he glimpsed the editor's expression. "Murphy," growled the editor, "what in blazes is the idea of sending this story up here to me for reading?" Why, it's good," stammered the first reader. As a matter of fact, it's the best story I ever found in the unrushed mail, and from an unknown, too. It shows a world of promise. Good, snorted the editor. Of course it's good. It ought to be. It's the rankest kind of plagiarism. A direct steal from, well, I don't exactly remember where I read it before. But I did. I remember reading the story a long time ago. The reciting student swayed suddenly, raised a hand to his forehead, and shook his head. When he lowered it again, the color had left his face. He stared at the professor with vaguely frightened eyes. Herr Taugmann, he whispered. Yes, Wilson. The psychologist glanced at the boy curiously. I'm sorry, said the student, but I've quite forgotten what question you asked me. I just had the most confused feeling. I felt as though I were suddenly repeating something I'd done a long, long time ago. Yet this is the first time we met in this classroom. The professor smiled gently. A very common sensation, Wilson. We will discuss it at greater length later in this course. It happens to all men at some time or other. Every psychologist recognizes it and has some theory to explain it. Henry Bergson calls it the memory of the present. Humans walking down strange streets, talking with new acquaintances, often stop short, believing they have done the same thing some time before. Some people claim the sensation has some significance, but that is palpably absurd. It is an utterly meaningless... In a control room more than 50 million miles distant, Dorian removed the amplifying unit from his head. There was defeat in his large, many-faceted eyes as he gestured to his assistant. Once more a button was pressed. The crackling hum ceased. The generator whirred and died. The light of the pallid globe flickered wearily. Success, Master, the robot's assistant's thought came to the Martian astronomer's mind anxiously. Dorian grimaced. No, failure again. I fear I must report to the Academy that the green planet definitely does not sustain life. I am certain that our signals reached there, still in more than 500 Reni of experiment. We have received no answering signals from its cloudy obscurity. But surely, sighed the scientist, if there were intelligent creatures, they would understand the fundamental principles of the time distortion factor, and send us the logical solution. Well, that was The Message from the Void by Hubert Mavity. Hope you enjoyed. Fun little story. Something that a lot of us have probably read something exactly like this before, but it's still always fun. And if anybody knows of a version of this story that comes from before February of 1939, I'd be curious to hear about it. So, as always, have a good week. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. If you like what I'm doing with the channel and you want to support the channel, you know what to do, and I will see you next time with, well, I'm not sure what I'll review next, but we'll figure it out. Anyway, have a good one.